As the competitive trail course gets set up, we'll get ready to show you a video about competitive trail and the discipline, how it will look this year inside the TCA Covered Arena. So here we go with competitive trail. There's a lot of stimulation at a racetrack. The lights, the big crowds, the TV cameras, the cheering as horses thunder in a pack down the stretch in a collective pursuit for the glory that awaits at the finish line. It's all done at full speeds and with high energy levels. So, how do racehorses handle a leisurely trail ride? Well, like on the racetrack, there are many sights and sounds to take in. But unlike the full gallops they go out on the track, the competitive trail discipline at the Thoroughbred Makeover is judged on how these former racehorses exhibit, quote, a calm and confident demeanor, show a desire to move forward with a steady pace, and exhibit care and sure-footedness throughout the course. Most horses will be ridden in Western tack and gear, but some will be in English tack and gear. On course, there can be working a gate, traversing water, going over crossbucks and balance beams, stepping up on a box, trotting through a wagon, and much more. When presented with new challenges, it's fascinating to see how the thoroughbred brain addresses the obstacles and how horse and rider work together to overcome them. First horse and rider to go will be number 201, I Can and I Will, ridden by Megan Kraut from Burdett, New York. Megan was 5th in dressage in the 2017 makeover. And since that time, they've welcomed in the child Colby and adding the youngster to Megan's life. She says, turns out babies can actually improve your life and your riding skills, and we'll see that on display here with the horse I Can and I Will. And this is one of the war horses. This is an 11-year-old who made 66 starts on the track, bred in Florida, and started racing in 2011 as a 3-year-old, raced almost exclusively in Florida for the beginning part of his career, for the first 4 years of his career, and then went to the East Coast up to Massachusetts, and then finishing up his career in November 2017 at Finger Lakes in upstate New York. Now, actually, this is one of the disciplines where, like dressage, for the first time this year, we've seen riders excel in either English or Western tack. We're seeing an English rider here.
Yes, often you'll see Western riders doing the competitive trail, but there's absolutely nothing that stops an English rider from doing it. The rules are all the same, and you can do it in whatever tack you would like. Again, it just comes back to the background that you had before you entered this discipline.
This is a horse that competed in show jumping and competitive trail. Our competitive trail judges are Robert Shirley and Tammy Thomas, who are judging the horse in the arena. Now they're headed to the bravery component of the course, having to walk over the elevated bridge. Now, when you have a war horse like this, they've seen it on the track, and that was well navigated.
Well, they've seen it on the track, but they might not have seen it in this environment. So the only way to test and see if they can do it in this environment is to do it in this environment. It's hard to practice for these unless you have all of these specific obstacles at your place. So you just need to throw as much as you can out at these horses. these guys all did their preliminaries outside, generally a little bit more natural environment. So we've seen in previous years horses that did really well come into the finals and have a tough time here. There's been a lot of stories about the flag at the head of the lake, and some horses had some trouble with it. Maybe here with a little bit less wind, it'll be a little bit easier to keep under control. It's a big flag.
Having to simulate the trail here inside the cover arena, horses generally like natural, so this is messing with the horses a little bit.
Yes, and I've been on trails with horses and walked past a tree that's fallen down and they don't blink an eye, and then 10 steps later they see a tree that was cut down and have a heart attack. So it's very interesting what the horses pick up on, but generally the more natural something is, the easier it is for them. So this is all very unnatural and takes some good training to help them figure out that these things are not going to attack them.
This is the thick brush on the trail.
Again, going through thick brush
The
in reality
psychedelic
is,
thick brush.
yes, is much easier than going through some fluorescent piping.
So that's to simulate the courage needed on trail, and now to the patience component of the course. Having to mail a letter.
And all of these are testing the willingness of the horse and also the understanding the horse has to the rider's aids, whether or not they actually understand the specific task that's being asked, but can they interpret what their rider is asking regardless of whether they've seen it before, because I'm fairly certain most of these people have not practiced with a purple glitter backpack at home.
It's a very colorful backpack and a very plain mailbox. And now they'll jog out to the exit. Making grout padding, I can and I will on the back. From Burdett, New York. Riding the Florida bred in the Florida track sponsored competitive trail discipline. So that was a great way to start competitive trail. That was a really solid showing by a horse that unfazed through 66 starts on the track and seemed unflappable in the course that was set up.
Yeah, it was a pretty solid round. The first horse going through, also the riders haven't had a chance to see how the horses are going to handle it, so the first one out has to go and pave the way, and overall handled things pretty well and pretty consistent through most of the obstacles.
Next to go is the current leader in competitive trail, riding English and going now so that there'll be plenty of time to change tack, the third costume change, if you will, for Lindsay Partridge, who is aboard Regina Kristina. This was the horse that Lindsay rode very well in Field Hunter, and then we saw her in the mermaid costume on Fairly Obvious, whom we'll also see in the ranch work final. Well, now competitive trail with Regina Kristina.
And we know that Lindsay likes to do a lot of tarp work with her horses, so she fared a little bit better on that first obstacle. Having the tarp drag behind is probably something that this horse has seen many, many times.
I don't know, I think Lindsay should have used the bigger tarp.
I don't think it would have made a difference. I still think she would have gone through.
Seriously. It's been a busy day for Lindsay, and not even considering that she has a newborn to take care of too, but having 4 horses to ride in the finals, and she's a previous 2 horses to ride in 4 disciplines. But when you're doing such a variety of skills, it almost seems like you're throwing a new horse out there each time. The Thoroughbred Makeover Champion in 2015 with Soar. And the discipline that got them the Thoroughbred Makeover Championship was this discipline, competitive trail. Then coming back the next year, winning competitive trail again in 2016 with Trivia Time, and then having a bit of pride in 2017 when the junior student that she worked with, Franny Galvin Hines, was able to win that competition, but looking to regain her crown as a competitive trail champion. Bravely over the bridge.
It's a good side pass over to the barrel there. It does seem like this horse is a little more nervous than the first one that we saw, but still very obedient and doing everything she's being asked. She seems to be carrying a little bit more nerves with her.
Regina Kristina was recently sold, as Lindsay told us, as part of the ASPCA Makeover Marketplace. Another one of the horses who had a lot of experience on the track, 35 starts, $148,000 in earnings, and traveled around quite a bit, racing in Delaware, Pennsylvania, New York, retiring out of Finger Lakes Racetrack in upstate New York, just like the previous horse, I Can and I Will.
And that is a tough obstacle. A lot of people go through the noodles with their horses at home, and it's a good way to practice and desensitize, but those are really thick. There's a lot there, and it's pretty dense to get the horses through, so that definitely does show some bravery to get through that many all in one go.
And that wraps up Regina Kristina's round in competitive trail, wraps up a busy day for the horse, who also was in the finals of Field Hunters. And we'll see Lindsay with another outfit change for ranch work coming up in the next discipline, the final discipline for the 2019 Thoroughbred Makeover. So we had 2 horses that finished up their racing careers at Finger Lakes in New York, and a horse that was in 2 discipline finals, and another horse coming up next in 2 discipline finals. And this was the top finishing junior in competitive trail, and Megan Overy is the rider. The horse is Just in Flash. As we reset the course and prepare for Just in Flash, who was in 4th place coming into the finals of competitive trail sponsored by Florida Track.
We saw him blazing through the barrel pattern, so we'll see how he does slowing it down. Seemed pretty confident out there before, so see if how rhythmically and slowly and confidently he can navigate through this course.
Now, compared to the first 2 horses, he's a bit younger. He's only 4, a bit lighter raced, only the 3 previous starts. Pretty well bred, sired by Line of David out of Noble Causeway mare. A young but frankly veteran trainer in Megan Overy, who has been training and starting horse since the age of 8 and has competed in the Extreme Mustang Makeover 4 times, placed in the top 10 each time, and has had top 10 placings in the 2 disciplines in which she has ridden just in Flash. Iowa bred, who ran at Prairie Meadows and now based in Missouri, in Fairgrove, Missouri with Megan.
Got a little nervous there with the tarp, saw it chasing him a little bit, so she made a good decision to drop it. And what I like to see is, he looked there again, just for a second, but how quickly he recovers, and he seems to come back to his nice, calm demeanor right after that little spook.
He's the first of the competitive trail finalists in Western tack. First 2 were in English tack.
Really looks to be quite a willing boy. Not completely sure of what he's supposed to do, but he sure is giving it his best shot. A little misstep there, but really honest try. Had no idea what he was supposed to do there, but when he was asked to get up, he started getting up and just went off course just a little bit there.
I do like when the riders give that kind of fair but firm approach, like, you will do this. I'll give you the time to figure it out, though.
This is good with a young horse who's inexperienced with these things. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just give them a second to let them see it and figure out what it physically is before you ask them to do anything with it first.
Handled the differences in footing there.
And as we said earlier, or a couple times now, just really, truly willing horse. He just needs a bit more experience to really perfect what's going on. But that's what this competition is about. It's not about coming out here and being perfect. It's showing the potential to be able to do it. And he certainly has the brain for it. I like that canter too.
So loping up to the next obstacle, the simulated tall brush.
You can see his brain working, trying to process what this actually is.
Megan's been giving pats on the back to the horse and Horse looking to Megan for that moment of surety. I don't know, is Megan too young to know what a letter is?
Well, she also is figuring out well how to handle these things.
Young horse, young rider, really cool pair. Just to see how Justin Flash processed, and that's, you get the brain. When you get a horse with a brain like that, it really shows a tremendous amount of potential.
Yeah, I'd really like to see them. Any points that they lost were not really because of it.
Reflective of what you're asking them to do. This is not one of those. The next horse we're going to see is named Downtown Kitty, and we're going to see how Downtown Kitty takes to the trail. Ridden by Sammy Malik from Emerson, Georgia. And really, Justin Flash, that was kind of the young, inexperienced horse, really precocious to get to the finals. Downtown Kitty has been around the block, a 8-year-old, New York bred, raced 32 times, and another one of the horses in the finals that came out of Finger Lakes. So 3 of the 5 finalists had their last race at Finger Lakes. This horse adopted from the Finger Lakes Finest Aftercare program will also have competed in ranch work this weekend.
So if you're looking for a trail horse, I suggest maybe starting at Finger Lakes. It might be a good place to start for you.
Finger Lakes, they really have the tried and true war horses. This horse, I mean, 32 starts is a lot, but Finger Lakes also is where Straight Thunder was racing. That's the horse that competed in competitive trail that had 150 starts. And we saw a few Finger Lakes horses in the finals last year at the Thoroughbred Makeover. For making 32 starts, it was in a relatively short amount of time, just 2.5 years. So 14 starts in 2016, 13 in 2017, and you see no holes in the horse's record, suggesting that the horse held up pretty soundly on the racetrack. I sometimes think if the bell is reminiscent of the bell that you have on the starting gates, because we have heard of horses who, when they hear the call to the post, that triggers something.
I haven't seen any of them react too much off of the bell, so hopefully none of them are really making that connection. I think
Not
we would
now,
see,
at least, yeah.
Yeah, we would see a little bit different personality come out. Here's another horse who is certainly willing to try it, but just doesn't quite understand what's supposed to happen here. He might be a little overwhelmed with that extra step on the top also.
That is a well-deserved recognition for the try that the horse has.
And it's also good. We are in competition, and you get points for what you do, and you lose points for what you don't do. But sometimes it's not worth overfacing your horse. And he was trying real hard, and I don't know if it would have really helped anything if she had pushed any harder to get him over that. So I think that was a really good move on the rider's part to say, all right, you gave it a shot. We can revisit this at another time. But at this moment, might have been too much, and it may have hurt some things further down on this course if you push too much.
Exactly, and that's something that this competition really emphasizes, the good experience for the horse and for the rider.
And see, now that he went through that one, he should build his confidence up again. That one was flat, a little bit more straightforward, aside from the coloring. And when you get an honest horse with a good brain, they come through pretty quickly and are willing to take on that next challenge.
Yeah, no hesitation there. So once he figured out what the task was, he's willing and able to do it.
Always a showman.
Kudos to the course designer, Chris Peplich, for a course that I think is some really distinct tests for these horses and is both a challenge and offers a good learning opportunity for the horses, the young in terms of their experience off the track as well.
Had a little trouble with that reverse. So again, a testament to his brain. He moved the rail and made it much more difficult and did a reverse while straddling the pole and still trying his hardest to do it. Whether or not it's perfect, he's still giving it all that he can.
Downtown Kitty and Sammy Malik wrapping up their competitive trail course. So we'll have one more horse and rider to go in competitive trail. Horse and rider that are also currently in second place in ranch work, so they'll be involved in both of the final disciplines. And horse that, when you consider the background of this horse, may not necessarily have been expected that this would be where the horse would end up. The horse is Belfast Cowboy. Belfast because the horse was bred in Ireland and was bred in Dunmore Stud. Good breeding out of a Galileo dam. Came to the United States after being sold at the Arcana sale in England, so shipped over to the United States in 2015, but didn't start racing until a relatively older age of 4, ran in 2018, and then after winning his debut at Turfway Park in March of 2018, had 6 more starts subsequent to that, wrapped up a 7-race career at Turfway Park in January of this year. Tony Harmon, whom we met yesterday at the competitor meeting, won last year in ranch work and will be in ranch work with Belfast Cowboy as well. Rode Regal Justice last year to win ranch work. Started riding at the age of 5, but says she didn't get the horse show fever until her 30s. Started show jumpers and then moved to eventing. And then after moving from Southern California to Chicago, was introduced to working equitation. Wants to thank David Reed, who she calls the most supportive boyfriend ever, the one who encouraged her to compete at the makeover in 2018 and then built obstacles to prepare for 2019.
It's a really smooth pass across those poles. You can see the horse is really responding to each little cue and movement, and is pretty confident in what his rider's asking him to do.
The horse was on the track this year as recently as January, so a relatively later start to post-track life.
And it really shows the amount of time that Tony has put in with her horse, that he has so much confidence in her, and she's probably shown him a million different questions and challenges and obstacles that they've been able to maneuver together. Where something new comes up, he seems pretty confident that if she's going to present him to it, that he should be able to get through it.
This horse still relatively young at 5 years old, and compared to some of the other finalists, just the 7 starts on the track.
That was nice, straight, tiny hesitation initially, and then just moved straight back right off that leg. No wiggling or hesitating.
The top 10. In 10th place, number 148, Danielle Conrad and Flying Star. 9th place, number 383, Silence is Awesome, ridden by Amber Jacobson. 8th, number 41, Joseph McDonald aboard Betty's Bullet. In 7th, number 328, Malia Blakely and Piazza Time. In 6th place, number 452, Monique Cameron and Wally Kay. 5th place, number 220, Megan Overy and Justin Flash. In 4th place, number 201, Megan Kraut aboard I Can and I Will. In 3rd place, number 120, Sammy Malik and Downtown Kitty. 2nd place went to number 354, Lindsay Partridge and Regina Kristina. And the competitive trail winner at the 2019 TCA Thoroughbred Makeover, by virtue of a tiebreak with a higher finale score, it is number 33, Tony Harmon and the Irish bred Belfast Cowboy.